Hello and welcome back to another episode of Weather or Not. I'm your host, Frank Gargione, joined alongside me by forecaster Jonathan Domow. We are back in the studio and back from spring break. Now, this past Monday here in State College, we had temperatures in the 60s. A cold front came through, and then we were in the 30s with snow. Can those colder conditions stick around?
Well, good news is those colder conditions will not stick around, and neither will that absolute roller coaster of weather that we saw over those past couple of days, which we'll get more into in my forecast.
You'll hear from him in just a second, but for now, nature in the news.
A series of devastating landslides in Ethiopia has left at least 80 people dead in the southern Domow zone after days of intense rainfall triggered massive mudslides that swept through villages, burying homes and trapping residents under thick layers of earth. The disaster unfolded in stages, with an initial landslide drawing people to the scene, only for a second, larger landslide to strike and kill many of those trying to help. Rescue workers, joined by local residents, have been digging through the mud by hand in a desperate search for survivors, but efforts remain slow and dangerous due to unstable ground and the continued threat of additional landslides. Officials warn the death toll is likely to rise as recovery operations continue and more bodies are uncovered, and the government has declared 3 days of national mourning in response to the tragedy. Landslides are a recurring danger in this mountainous region, particularly during the rainy season when saturated soil becomes prone to collapse, highlighting the ongoing vulnerability of rural communities where limited infrastructure, difficult terrain, and extreme weather conditions can quickly turn natural hazards into large-scale humanitarian disasters.
A strong, slow-moving storm swept across Hawaii last week, bringing flash flooding, strong winds, and even snow. The storm, known as a Kona low, is a major weather maker in the Hawaiian Islands. On Tuesday, the Honolulu office of the National Weather Service said a high-impact weather event was beginning to unfold as the system strengthened northwest of the state, drawing in very moist tropical air northward toward Hawaii. Some of the rainfall totals are impressive, as many places throughout the islands saw a 5-day rainfall total top 20 inches. One location on the island of Maui saw a staggering 44 inches of rain from the event. Strong winds knocked out power to around 125,000 customers throughout the state by early Saturday morning. Winds gusted into the 60s across the islands, with higher elevations seeing a top wind gust of 135 miles per hour. Governor Josh Green declared a state of emergency while crews rescued people from rising floodwaters across multiple islands. The Kona low has since moved away from the state, but more rain is expected this week.
A bright meteor, also known as a fireball, was seen streaking across the sky over Pennsylvania and Ohio, startling residents in the region. Many people reported hearing a loud boom, which experts say was likely a sonic boom caused by the meteor traveling at extremely high speeds through the atmosphere. The object likely burned up before reaching the ground, which is common for most meteors. Scientists track these events using radar, satellite data, and eyewitness reports to determine the size and path of the object. Fireballs occur when space debris enters Earth's atmosphere and heats up due to friction, producing a bright streak of light. Events like this are relatively rare but not unheard of, and they often generate widespread public interest because of their sudden and dramatic appearance. Overall, the event highlights how interactions between space and Earth's atmosphere can create noticeable and sometimes startling natural phenomena.
A powerful multi-day severe weather outbreak hit the central and eastern United States during the first half of last week, bringing deadly tornadoes, very large hail, and gusty winds. In all, 82 tornadoes were confirmed during this outbreak. There were also 663 reports of thunderstorm high winds, wind damage, and large hail up to 6 inches, a potential Illinois state record. On March 10th, conditions were favorable for long-duration tornadoes across northern Illinois and northern Indiana due to a stationary front that formed just south of Chicago. The most heavily damaged areas were from one supercell thunderstorm, which tracked over 120 miles in almost 4.5 hours from northeast Illinois into northern Indiana. That supercell spawned 5 tornadoes, including destructive tornadoes in Kankakee, Illinois, Lake Village, and Wheatfield, Indiana, according to the National Weather Service. 2 people were killed and damage was extensive. The severe threat shifted east on March 11th and March 12th, dropping an EF2 tornado in Georgia and multiple tornadoes across the southeast. Another round of severe storms brought wind damage to the Midwest on Sunday and impacted the Mid-Atlantic on Monday. Over 160 tornadoes have been reported this month, along with 1,500 severe wind reports and 330 hail reports.
following a week of wild weather here in the Commonwealth and beyond, here's what we can expect for this weekend, starting with Friday. Now, conditions here are going to be pretty mild here, and that's all thanks to this high pressure situated off the coast of New Jersey and Delaware. However, south of us is not going to be as mild. Conditions will be much warmer, double-digit degrees warmer here in parts of West Virginia, Kentucky, and Virginia. Now, to the north of us here along the Erie coastline, the Great Lakes, southern Canada, and the Michigan Peninsula, there's going to be rain, all thanks to this system that's traversing the Midwest on Friday. And just north of all this rain, it's going to be the chance of some mixed precipitation. Would not want to be outside during that in southern Canada, and some snowflakes falling in parts of northern New England. Now, on Saturday here, for the most part on Saturday, it's going to be pretty clear. However, there is some showers possible and might even fall as mixed precipitation, but the biggest threat for precipitation that we're watching is here in eastern New York as well as all of New England, all thanks to this system, this cold front system that is moving its way across the mid-Atlantic. However, this high pressure behind it is going to leave Saturday on the most part dry, but again, the chance of some mixed showers. Now, Sunday is where things get interesting. Here in Centre County, we're expecting it to fall as rain, but as you head north to the northwest plateau, expect that to fall as sleet and just general mixed precipitation as it follows this cold front originating from up in Canada and as it pushes out towards the coast. Exclusively snow along the Great Lakes shorelines here, and rain extending up as far as Boston and southern New Hampshire, but it's going to be a pretty precipitation heavy day on Sunday. Now, for temperatures on Friday, you can expect a mild 55 degrees with the chance of some evening showers, but again, Friday during the day is going to remain dry. Now, Friday night is where we're going to see some rain showers possible, 42 degrees. And then Saturday is when I mentioned it could be raining as well as potentially falling as mixed precipitation, but it's really going to be a toss-up with the main precipitation threat in New England, 60 degrees on Saturday, 42 degrees, mostly cloudy on Saturday night. And then Sunday is when we have that extended rain threat, 64 degrees. Now I'm going to toss it over to Rebecca Newell with the feature on the spring transition period.
Spring is finally beginning to take hold after months of cold winter weather. Warmer temperatures are starting to return, the days are getting longer, and for many people, it's a welcome change after a long season of gray skies and freezing temperatures. But the transition from winter to spring doesn't always come easily for our bodies. Seasonal weather changes can affect how we feel in many ways people don't expect. As temperatures fluctuate and plants begin to bloom again, our bodies are forced to adjust. That adjustment period can bring a few challenges along with the warmer weather. One of the most common problems people experience during spring is seasonal allergies. As trees, grasses, and flowers begin releasing pollen into the air, allergy symptoms can quickly appear. Sneezing, congestion, itchy eyes, and headaches are all common complaints this time of year. For some people, allergies can even make it difficult to concentrate or get through the day without feeling exhausted. But allergies aren't the only things our bodies are adjusting to. Spring also changes our daily sleep patterns. With the arrival of daylight saving time and longer hours of sunlight, our internal clocks, also known as our circadian rhythms, can get thrown off. When that rhythm is disrupted, falling asleep and staying asleep can become more difficult. Even losing just an hour of sleep can make people feel groggy, fatigued, and unfocused for days afterwards. Those sleep disruptions can also make other seasonal problems worse. Fatigue becomes more common as our bodies try to adjust to the new daylight schedule. And as temperatures begin to warm, people often become more active outdoors again, sometimes without realizing that they're not staying as hydrated as they should be. All of those changes together can leave people feeling run down right at the time of the year when they're hoping to feel energized again. But there are a few simple ways you can help your body adjust to the seasonal shift. And one of the easiest starts with the food you eat. Spring is the beginning of a new growing season, which means many fruits and vegetables are coming into season. Eating produce that is grown locally and harvested during its natural season can offer a number of benefits. When fruits and vegetables are in season, they're typically harvested closer to their peak ripeness and get to grocery stores much faster. That shorter time between harvest and the store shelf helps the food retain more of its nutrients and flavor. Produce that travels long distances often has to be picked before it's fully ripe, so it can survive transportation. During shipping and storage, fruits and vegetables continue a natural process called respiration, which slowly breaks down nutrients and reduces overall quality. Local in-season produce avoids much of that problem. Because it doesn't need to travel as far or sit in storage for as long, it tends to be fresher, more flavorful, and more nutritious by the time it reaches consumers. There's also a financial benefit. When certain fruits and vegetables are in season, supply increases dramatically. That higher supply means lower prices at the grocery store. In other words, shoppers can get produce that tastes better, contains more nutrients, and costs less at the same time. Many spring fruits and vegetables also have high water content, which can help people stay hydrated as temperatures warm up. Foods like leafy greens, strawberries, peas, and asparagus are packed with vitamins and nutrients that can help support the immune system after the long winter months. For people feeling the effects of seasonal fatigue or allergies, small adjustments like improving sleep habits, staying hydrated, and eating seasonal foods can make a noticeable difference. Spring's transition can take some getting used to, but the season also brings new opportunities to reset routines and focus on healthier habits. And with warmer weather and fresh produce returning to the shelves, it may be the perfect time to start. For Whether or Not, I'm Rebecca Newell.
Thank you, Rebecca Newell, for that incredible feature. Let's just recap what we can expect for this weekend. As I mentioned, for Friday, it's going to be a mild 55 degrees. It's going to be sunny and clear of precipitation for most of the day. However, Friday evening is when we could expect those showers to move in. 42 degrees is your overnight low. And Saturday, it's going to be 60 degrees. It's going to be the chance of rain, but as I mentioned before, the bulk of that rain chance will be well off to our northeast in New England here. So be weary of it, but not necessarily going to have to plan around it. Now, Sunday is where things get interesting. It's going to be 64 degrees, but that is when those widespread showers will be here in Pennsylvania. And depending on where you are in the Commonwealth, it might be falling as a mixed precipitation, but for here in Center County, we're expecting it to fall just as rain. And be careful if you're out and about Sunday evening. We're going to drop down close to freezing, 34 degrees for Sunday night. Now, here's a look into next week. We have some rain showers lingering over into Monday morning, but that will quickly turn into sunshine here, and we'll be approaching average for Tuesday and Wednesday, both partly cloudy, and then our late week warm-up will take into effect on Thursday. However, along with the higher temperatures comes the chance for rain that will linger into Friday as we approach back down to average. And stay tuned for our Weather Whiz quiz answer.
And the answer is A, Pineapple Express. And although a funny name, it's actually because most of the moisture associated with atmospheric rivers originate in the Hawaii and tropical Pacific region.
And up to 50% of the precipitation for the West Coast comes from these atmospheric rivers. Additionally, they're categorized 1 through 5, with this current one in Washington State being a Category 3.
Very interesting. Thank you, Jonathan. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this edition of Whether or Not. Join us next week for another episode of Whether or Not. Have a good one.